Direct from Foxborough, Massachusetts, the gem of Norfolk County, and taped at the studios of Foxborough Cable Access. It's Foxborough Central. And here's your host, Bob Hickey.
And welcome to another episode of Foxborough Central. I am Bob Hickey, your host, and I want to thank you for taking the time to join with me and my guest as we talk about the people, events, and organizations that make Foxborough truly the gem of Norfolk County. Now, we meet so many people through our life's path that every once in a while we have to kind of reset and say to ourselves, what are the important things? And our children and families are the most important thing, in my opinion. And of course, as we go through life, we also have challenges. There's health challenges, health scares, bullying, school, sports, all these things that happen that we have to teach, learn, and grow from. And one of them is drugs and alcohol. Today, I am joined by my guest, a new friend, Marissa Vital. Marissa, thank you so much for being here on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. And I understand that you just gave a program at the high school. And you are, before we start, you are the program manager with
the Southeast Tobacco-Free Community Partnership.
Okay. And what is the Southeast Community-Free Tobacco Partnership?
Right. So the Community Partnership is one of a number of partnerships throughout Massachusetts that are funded through the Massachusetts Tobacco Cessation and Prevention Program.
So the settlement that happened, part of that money goes towards prevention, and that's what this is.
Correct.
Okay.
And so the program, we work in a bunch of different topics such as adult smoking cessation, smoke-free housing, and also policy. And part of that policy work is educating the community, parents, teachers, and anyone who works with kids about what's going on in terms of youth use of tobacco.
Information is power.
Exactly.
And we can't stop the problem unless we understand what it is. So
Right.
I guess what we're going to do today is we're going to learn about the problem.
Yep.
Some of us may think we know what it is, but I know that I, for one, when you start pulling things out and putting them on the table, I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, I don't know a thing about this. So fantastic. What are we primarily talking about? You had said vaping, and I see that seems to be what's on the screen here. Is that true? Is that what we're going to be talking about today?
We're going to talk about vaping, yeah. So to give a little context, basically, the tobacco industry, they know that flavored products and cheap products are appealing to kids. And so,
well, to anybody. Flavored vodka sells.
Right, there's
there's
flavors, yeah.
Sure.
And so the main tactics that the tobacco industry uses basically are they make the products sweet, cheap, and easy to get, and that makes them accessible to kids and appealing to kids. The tobacco industry can't make flavored cigarettes anymore. That's illegal. So in response to that, they started making all of these other tobacco products with flavors, so little mini cigars, flavored blunt wraps, and now vaping, the flavored liquid nicotine.
I thought the cigarette companies didn't do vaping, that they did tobacco.
Do. It's one and the same. The big tobacco industry is the vaping industry.
Very sneaky.
They're one and the same. Yeah, so it's the newest way to get kids addicted to nicotine.
Okay.
And what we see actually is the younger age groups use the flavors more. So we have data on this. We have data on the price increases do affect how much young people buy products. More expensive means that they're going to buy it less. And we know that when the products are easily found in stores like Cumberland Farms or the gas station, places that kids go after school or after a sports practice, they're more exposed to the products. It becomes more normalized to them.
So Marissa, I'm going to ask some questions.
Sure.
If that's all right. And I hope they don't appear to be too naive, but
Sure.
You can buy vaping stuff at Cumberland, I shouldn't use the name, but at a gas station or at a convenience store?
Depending on the town, yes. So some municipalities in Massachusetts have restricted the sale of flavored tobacco to adult-only stores.
Okay.
A municipality that hasn't done that, yeah, you can walk into a gas station somewhere with a tobacco permit and buy a Juul or a vape pen.
I'm going to ask you a question. If you don't know the answer, is Foxborough one of those towns?
So Foxborough actually doesn't have any adult-only tobacco retail stores.
Okay.
They don't have that flavor restriction. So yeah, you can go into a gas station.
Because there isn't an option, so you can't restrict it unless there's an option?
So just the legality of it is it's a
that
little
makes sense.
trickier that
Okay,
way. Yeah,
that makes
the
sense.
Board of Health though, they have been recently talking about it and they're discussing it. I think it's sort of on hold right now because it is a little tricky with them not having the adult-only store in town.
So it sounds like it's a burgeoning industry. It sounds like it's one where there's a targeted appeal, and so. And I see on your screen here that there are some things I don't even know what it is. What is a SNUS pouch?
So it's a tobacco that you would put sort of in between your gums,
Kinda like
similar to chewing tobacco, but you don't chew it. You just
It just absorbs.
right, and it comes in flavors. So yeah, there's that. There's the chewing tobacco. There's the flavored cigars. But really, the big issue when we talk about flavors, when we talk about youth, is the e-cigarettes.
So e-cigarettes, and again, pardon my ignorance, but when they first came out, they were touted as an alternative to smoking and to help with smoking cessation because you'd be able to use those and you'd be able to wean yourself off the nicotine, and they're actually healthy. And a lot of my friends did that, and there was a harmless water vapor that was emitted. Is that
Right.
not? You're smiling.
The watt. Well, the watt. That's.
I
just
like
perfect.
it when I ask a question and the guest always smiles at me. He's like, "Hey, Bob, that's
Yeah.
very cute." But
No,
here's the
it's-
truth. So hit me with
It's
the truth.
perfect that you said that about the water vapor because I hear that all the time. That's what kids think. That's what parents think. It's a really prevalent
Up until 15
misperception.
seconds ago, it's what I thought. But then you started smiling, so I knew I was wrong.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're not the only one. And even when we talk about vaping and the vapor that's produced from one of these devices, that's even misleading because it's actually an aerosol, not a vapor.
Really?
Yeah, so I can kind of just explain how the product works if you want.
I
and
love this program. Hit me with it.
I'll do so with this really basic
Okay, that's a
version
Bic
of an
pen.
e-cig. Right. Could certainly look that way in a backpack, right? If you're a parent.
Well, when you pull this one out, and I know that it's a marketing gimmick, but that looks just like a popular candy.
Yeah, and it smells just like it too.
Does
you
it
can
really?
smell it. Yeah, I can open it up so you can smell it. And when parents smell it at school presentations, it's amazing, and it speaks to that tactic, that the industry uses to make it appealing to
It's
you.
the Sour Patch Kid.
It's
Yep.
exactly smells just
Amazing.
like it. So that product, that's the flavored liquid nicotine. And when using a device like this, the flavored liquid nicotine would go in this empty tank area. It just comes unscrewed and back on. There's
you
a battery.
fill it up
You
and-
fill it up, right, with whatever flavor of your choosing. And the battery is in here. This is the on button, and then this is the mouthpiece.
Okay.
So the battery heats up the flavored liquid nicotine. The user would inhale through the mouthpiece, and by heating that flavored liquid nicotine, it turns it into an aerosol. The aerosol is then inhaled by the user of the device and then exhaled.
So it's no different than really the old bong and smoke that we used to use back in the day because it goes through the water and it's a smoke that's coming in. You're still inhaling something.
You're inhaling.
So you're inhaling an aerosol,
You're inhaling
which
an
is in a
aerosol.
gaseous state as opposed to the smoke, which is in a gaseous state. So you're
Right.
still inhaling something into your lungs, and whatever's in there
Exactly.
goes in.
Right, and so what we know about what's in the aerosol produced by these devices and the flavored liquid nicotine is we know that it's not safe. There are harmful chemicals in here. First and foremost, there is nicotine in the flavors, but besides the nicotine, there is diacetyl, which is linked to a lung disease called popcorn lung, which is like a permanent scarring of the lungs. There's propylene glycol, there's glycerin, there's volatile organic compounds like benzene, which is in car exhausts. And all of these devices, they have batteries, and the heating of those batteries can actually release some of the heavy metals into that aerosol as well. So the nickel, lead, and tin you're also getting as part of that aerosol.
It's crazy.
And those ultrafine particles can become lodged deeply in the lungs, and then basically whatever's not stuck in the lungs is that cloud that you see, that vapor cloud. Sometimes it's a big cloud, sometimes it's not a big cloud. Either way, though, the Surgeon General, the report on e-cigarettes from 2017, they did find that the secondhand vape isn't safe either.
So there's really no difference between the current vaping craze and the old nasty cigarette craze. It's just still inhale things that are not good for you, and the exhale can lead to secondary issues.
Right.
Just different issues, but the same issues, really.
Yeah, and what's so scary is that these products haven't been around for very long, so we don't know the real long-term effects yet. What we know so far is that it's not good and it's not safe, and 10, 15 years from now, it might turn out that we know it's a lot worse than we thought.
Isn't that interesting? Because back in the day, of course, 9 out of 10 doctors recommend smoking X brand because it's healthful and invigorates you. And then 20 years, 30 years down the road, Surgeon General report says that all smoking is dangerous, causes cancer, and then further along, it causes danger to pregnancy. And so the more we become educated, the more we go, ooh, and now we're in the early days. And so this is really no different than the early days of cigarette smoking, where it's new technology, a new opportunity. And now, as incredibly short time, you're sharing some of these things that we now should all know, which is really interesting and scary.
And it's really important for parents especially to know that this isn't harmless because of that misperception that you mentioned, that it's just flavored water or water vapor. So it's really, really important for folks to know everything that they can. Education is really key here and staying on top of this.
Well, I'm glad you're here and sharing this. Of course, we're with Marissa Vital. She is the program manager with the Southeast Tobacco-Free Community Partnership. You can find out more information about her program and the other 7 that are in the state at getoutraged.org. That's www.getoutraged.org. You can also reach out to Marissa at her email address. It's mvital, M-V-I-T-A-L, at sevenhills.org, or reach out to their office phone number at 774-634-3955. If I were to call you up at 774-634-3955, what would I be asking you? What would I be wanting to find out? What would I be asking you to help me with?
So a lot of the people who reach out to me work with kids, or they're a parent.
Teachers, counselors.
Teachers, school nurses, guidance counselors, exactly. And schools will ask me to come give a presentation either at a staff professional development day to the entire staff or to parents at an evening event.
In fact, you just did one recently here in
I
Foxborough.
did.
That was
Yes.
great. And I know Dr. Burrows is a big proponent of education and inclusion, so congratulations on doing that. And so, and that's what brought you here to us. So big shout out to Cable Access and Paul Beck, who was directing that night and realized that this was a message that should be shared with the broader audience.
Absolutely.
So with that, what was the message that you were giving that night? Was it just the education component, or was there a focus?
So it's first of all, to educate parents. They need to know what these products look like. They need to know how small they are, how they can.
I mean, it's crazy
they can
looking
look like
at it.
a makeup eyeliner, or this is the Juul. This looks like a flash drive. It looks like you can just. I mean, you can just plug it right in here. Yeah. So this is a different e-cigarette.
Just plug it right in there.
Yeah. It's a USB charger. This is the charge. The charger.
Out of town,
it's
some more
magnetic,
battery.
and you plug it in.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
devious.
it's crucial for parents to know what this and the other products are, to understand that it's not harmless, it's not water vapor, and to have the facts. That way they can have conversations with their kids and understand what their kids are doing, what their kids are seeing. And then the other part of it is we really want to build community support for local tobacco regulations. So towns throughout Massachusetts had raised the minimum legal age of sale to 21 for over the course of a few years, and then eventually the state, seeing the support from all these municipalities, then put into effect a statewide regulation.
Okay.
So it's really important for local boards of health to know that the community supports enhanced tobacco regulations.
So how could this possibly be an issue? Because there's a state regulation that they can't be for sale to people below 21. So how could this possibly be an issue?
So the state regulation the state law that just went into effect actually grandfathered in 18, 19, and 20-year-olds. So anyone who was already 18, unless they live in a town that has a stronger regulation, can still be sold tobacco. But over 200 municipalities did raise the age right up to 21, so that was really good. But basically, illegal sales do still happen, unfortunately. That's just the reality of it. And young people, for a long time, it was really easy for them to buy these products online. in just a simple checking of a box saying yes.
And that's the
I'm
new reality
X,
of
Y.
commerce. You're right.
Yeah.
You can do this, and it's impossible, virtually impossible, to really track it and crack down on it.
And yeah, and even something that seems so innocent, sort of like giving a child a prepaid Visa gift card for a birthday or Christmas gift, that can be used to buy something online without a parent or a guardian knowing.
Sure.
Yeah, so
But
online
to that point,
is
it's
another
so
way.
easy just to pick up a $25 gift card at the Stop and Shop, and then you can use that because for the same reason, you can get around these things if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And as we know, kids have a great ability to figure things out.
Yes, they do. And also, again, unfortunately, and this is why it was really important to get the minimum legal age of sale raised up to 21, is that 18-year-olds are still in high school a lot of the time. And a 21-year-old doesn't reasonably know as many high schoolers as an 18-year-old. So when you think about getting
Your friends, your peer
a
groups.
device
Sure.
from your friends, right, exactly.
So of course I'm curious about so many more things, but I see the time is running out on us, Marissa. So again, I'm talking with Marissa Vital. She is the program manager for Southeast Tobacco Free Community Partnership. And I never like to bogart the program. It's really all about you. With your presentation, what are some of the highlights that you want us? I'm a parent. My son is 21. My daughter's 24. What would you like me to know?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I want parents to know that vaping is not harmless. So all those chemicals that we talked about that are in the devices.
Scary chemicals.
Right,
yeah.
this is really serious. And also nicotine is extremely addictive. Nicotine actually can cause permanent damage to a developing brain. The brain isn't fully developed until about age 25, and before that point, nicotine use can permanently lower impulse control, disrupt the way that a person is able to learn and pay attention, and can actually prime the brain for future drug addiction.
Okay.
So this is really, really serious.
It's not what you would call a gateway, but at the same time, it's not uncorrelated between the two.
Right. Right, and then the other thing that parents really need to know is to look at what their kids are doing, and maybe take a second look at an unrecognizable device.
Well, that USB port is
Something
rather
like
scary.
this.
If you just plug that in, may I see that for a
Yeah,
second?
of course.
I mean, how innocent looking is that? It looks just like a USB, and when this came, I thought it was surely just part of the presentation and then take it off. It's clearly not. But then a parent walks in the room, and you just click it right back in there. And you'd have to, I know that I would miss this. And I realize that I'm very naive in many ways, but I would clearly miss that. So that is scary.
Yeah, and so this...
The makeup, the mascara thing is
right. It's
amazing.
Yeah, so it's really important for
We have
parents
those all
to-
over. I'm at a theater, and we have those
Yeah.
everywhere because of mascara. So.
Right, of course. So it's important for parents to know what it looks like. These, just going back to the Juul, this is the box that the Juul
I was going to
pods
ask you, I
come
didn't know
in.
what a Juul was. So
Yeah, so
sorry.
Juul is just the brand, and these are the pods. So when you use this device, this is where the pod goes, and it just
So it's already filled.
pre-filled.
Well, how convenient.
Once it's done, you just replace it. One pod has about as much nicotine as an entire pack of cigarettes. So
Wow.
a lot of nicotine, and that's sort of why I really am stressing how serious it is that kids are using nicotine. They're not just using a little bit of nicotine, they're getting a lot of nicotine, and it's sort of hard to keep track of exactly how much.
And it's actually sneaky because it's not in the format that we as adults are used to. We're used to a cigarette, and we, I mean, I'm not a scientist, but I pretty much know what's in a cigarette. But that is sneaky scary because it's in a different format. And if you're saying an entire pack is in one of those things, how long does it take to go through one of those things? I don't know. I
It can take an hour.
Yeah. And
For high schoolers, that's anecdotally what they've told me.
And that's the wild part, because to go through a pack of cigarettes in an hour, it's virtually impossible.
Right.
But to go through one of those in an hour,
Right, and it's you visually see it with the cigarette, right? You can sort of keep track how much nicotine you're consuming. You don't know that you're done with a pod until it's empty.
wow.
Once you get to that point.
Scary, scary.
Yeah. It is.
So to see more about that, go to getoutraged.org. And if you're not outraged yet, we've got some more time in the program. So let's talk some more to Marissa Vital. What's the next most important thing you want me to know? So first of all, you're a state-funded program, and you're funded through the tobacco settlement money and some other funds. But from a local standpoint, you cover the Southeast region, Southeast Tobacco-Free Community Partnership. Seven Hills, is that the company that you're with? Are you contracting through, or do you?
Yeah, so I work at Seven Hills Behavioral Health, and the grant funding comes through the Massachusetts Tobacco.
So you're not a government employee. You are, your company is contracted to go out, do the education, do the prevention, and help spread the message.
Right.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're glad that you're spreading the message with us. What do we have here?
Yeah, so this is actually some data that we have about how many youth in Massachusetts are vaping. So in 2017, about 20% of Massachusetts high schoolers were currently using e-cigarettes. About 40% had ever used e-cigarettes. These numbers are high, but what's really actually important, and I hear at schools a lot of the time, is that the youth perception is that these numbers are even higher than this. Kids think that 80, 90, 95% of their peers are vaping. Compared to 20%, that's a really big difference, and it's important for parents and educators to have these conversations and sort of dispel the myths. It's not as normal. Not everyone is doing it, and sort of breaking down that perception that everyone is doing it is, part of the way that adults can have those conversations.
I was going to say, it's cool because everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
But what we're saying is that everybody's not doing it. And
Right.
it's important that we not have everybody do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course. So we kind of talked a little about with the Juul, the pod-based system and how those come pre-filled.
That's just amazing.
Yeah, and I just wanted to sort of clarify the pod-based systems are one variety, basically, of e-cigarettes. The other variety, like this one that we talked about, where you fill in the liquid yourself, it's important to note that the packaging and the labeling on the nicotine that you put in isn't regulated. So the ingredients listed on here may not be exactly honest. There's no one making sure that this is exactly correct. I don't have the bottle with me.
In this day and age, how does that happen?
Yeah, I don't. I wish I had a good answer for that.
Okay, all right.
We would love for it to, of course, not be the case.
Isn't that amazing?
So I think you had mentioned the adult use of these products sort of as a tool for cessation.
Yep.
And I hear that a lot, and I get that question a lot, because when e-cigarettes first came out, they were really heavily promoted as a quit smoking tool.
Absolutely, that's what I remember.
But I just want to mention they're not FDA regulated as a cessation tool. And despite the fact that a bottle like this might say on it contains no nicotine, you might turn it over and nicotine might be listed as the ingredient.
Isn't that something?
So I know a lot of times adults have questions about that, and there are plenty of FDA approved cessation tools and medications out there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So we, and then what you're showing me now are a number of the different flavors,
Right.
and clearly we can. I'm not going to go through them, but you can look at those, and each one of those we can recognize a popular name that would match with what the deceptive labeling is.
Yep.
That's amazing.
The sweet flavors, are very intentional.
And they can't go after them for copyright infringement, I would imagine, or by the time they do, it's moved on to the next
Right. They're
scam. Wow, that's amazing.
constantly evolving too. So here, up on this slide, there are just some other examples of products, all different shapes and sizes. And it's also important to note that a young person might not refer to an e-cigarette as an e-cigarette. They might refer to it.
What are some of the street names?
as
Here we go.
They're vaping. You use a vape and you use an e-cigarette. It means the same thing, right? But it's two different words. But kids also refer to the products by their brand names. So they say they are juuling, or they're using their Juul. They're not using their e-cigarette. With the Soren or the Blue, they might just refer to it as the brand name. So that's
So
important
we as
to-
parents have to always be catching up to the newest
Exactly.
brand name.
Right, the newest device, the main two things that I say to parents is any scent, any sweet smell that you don't recognize, take a look, investigate that, and any sort of tech device that you don't recognize, take a second look at that too, because those are sort of two signs that your child or teenager might be vaping.
We are very close to running out of time. I want to make sure that we capture everything that we want to talk about. I'm going to remind, while you're gathering your thoughts, I want to remind everybody that we're speaking with Marissa Vital. She's the program manager with the Southeast Tobacco-Free Community Partnership. You can reach Marissa at mvital@sevenhills.org. You can call her office at 774-634-3955. She's a wealth of information. They have great resources, and this is a state-funded program, so it's for you to reach out to them to learn more. Thank you so much for coming here and educating us. And getoutrage.org is the website, but there's so much more. I feel like we just scratched the surface.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot more, and actually that Get Outraged site has a ton of information. There's an entire toolkit for schools, which has a PowerPoint presentation, guidance for giving the PowerPoint, sample newsletter copy, a sample curriculum to be put into health classes, a bunch of information in that toolkit. There's frequently asked questions for parents. There's fact sheets. There's pictures of all of this stuff up there for parents. So really, that Get Outraged site is really important to take a look at.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
So Marissa, you get the last word. As always, I'm so glad that you came out here and shared this powerful amount of information with us. It was so much to take in such a little amount of time, and I know there's so much more out there. I'd love to learn more. Why don't you tell us what we need to do?
Yeah, so to learn more, again, that getoutrage.org site, take a look at the resources there, and of course reach out to me with any questions, or if I can help in any way, and just keep in your mind that vaping and using e-cigarettes is not harmless. There's more to it.
There seems like there is a lot more to it. Thank you, Marissa Vital, for coming out. Reach out to Marissa at mvital@sevenhills.org if you'd like to get some more information. Call her at 774-634-3955 or log on to www.getoutraged.org. If you missed any of this information, of course, you can check us out again on this your favorite cable channel, or you can go to our YouTube channel and type in FCA Foxborough Central, and you'll get it there, as well as our website, www.fcatv.org. I'd like to thank you all for joining us, and thank in particular my director, Paul Beck, who's behind the glass, our executive director, Michael Weber, who makes this all happen, and all the other great people here at Foxborough Cable Access that bring this information to you. On behalf of all of them, I'm Bob Hickey, your host, and I want to thank you, and I look forward to seeing you next time here in Foxborough Central. Take care, everybody.